Dear Capcom, what the hell are you doing with Zangief? No matter how you feel about Street Fighter, you cannot deny that the World Warrior Tournament is home to the most iconic fighting game characters in history. For those of us that grew up with Street Fighter, seeing the World Warriors evolve from game to game has created narratives that have spanned decades, from Ryu's journey to self-mastery to Chun-Li's quest for revenge. But for every Akuma, Charlie Nash, or Cody we get, Street Fighter also maintains a bench of clowns. No one is saying that characters like Blanka or E Honda aren't iconic to the franchise, but you also can't really deny that these characters are kinda one-dimensional. E Honda is a sumo wrestler, and that is his whole character. It is all he talks about, it is all he fights for. Granted, real-life sumo wrestlers lead a heavily regimented and traditional lifestyle that is laser-focused on sumo and nothing but sumo, but you are never going to see E Honda evolve as a character or overcome a great trial in his life. He's just there to be the sumo guy. Like, come on, you've known Ryu and Ken for ages, and that's all you have to say to them? Honda's not the only one. There's a long list of fighters who are one-note gimmick characters that just exist. Their entire shtick never grows beyond one single joke, or if they are allowed to evolve, it's only to metamorphose into a different joke. Blanka loves capitalism! This brings us to Zangief, a character whom Capcom shows a lot of reverence to, despite how shallow he is as a character. Don't get me wrong, I love Zangief and I think he's a cool character, and you have to respect that he is the grandfather of all grapplers. Which is also why I think it's a shame that he's just been reduced into a walking meme. These characters have been part of gaming culture for decades, and I think it's a waste that Capcom doesn't have anything more to say with Zangief than just, "Ha, I am big guy!" But before we can explore what can be said with Zangief, let's reflect on his history and story thus far. Zangief debuted in Street Fighter II in 1991, with his inspiration taken from Russian wrestlers Viktor Zangief and Ivan Koloff. He represents the Soviet Union in the World Warrior Tournament, personally selected by the president to showcase Soviet power to the world. If Zangief defeats Bison, he is congratulated by the president for proving that the Soviet Union is the strongest in the world, and then they dance the Cossack. You might have noticed I've been saying the word Soviet a whole lot, and that's because it was Zangief's primary character background. Zangief is a proud patriot, a loyal countryman, and a champion of the common man, which is why his stage is always set in a Russian ironworks factory, to represent the Soviet working class. Even as early as Street Fighter II, you can see that Zangief's character is kind of threadbare in terms of having solid goals or motivations, even compared to other characters at the time. Ken gets married, Chun-Li avenges her father, Blanka reunites with his mother, and Zangief gets to dance with the president. Not exactly a compelling character arc. We get to elaborate a bit more on this in the Street Fighter Alpha series. In Alpha, Zangief is still the champion of the Soviet president, selected to fight in the World Warrior Tournament to gain prestige for the Soviet Union. It's here that we finally get to see Zangief outside the ring, training in Siberia by wrestling with bears. This would also be the start of Zangief's strength pushing into the realm of the absurd. In Street Fighter Alpha 3, Zangief is called upon by the president to stop Bison's Psycho Drive to prevent Shadaloo from invading Russia. Here, Zangief is the president's personal agent, like some kind of Soviet secret weapon that can just be deployed overseas to solve international crises. Depending on the ending, he either teams up with E Honda to destroy the Psycho Drive using their sheer combined body mass, or he teams up with rookie wrestler Rainbow Mika and saves her from falling debris. This would be the first time we get to see Zangief actually interact with other characters beyond just fighting. And moreover, that Mika begins to idolize Zangief and aspire to become as strong as him. In Street Fighter IV, Zangief is by now a world-famous wrestler. He travels the globe looking for strong fighters to wrestle with and share his love of wrestling with everyone and prove that wrestling is the best. You might have noticed that I've almost entirely replaced the word Soviet with wrestling, because this appears to be the new status quo for Zangief. Granted, it's probably not a good idea for Zangief to keep doing the whole Soviet pride thing in 2008 when the game first came out. In fact, Zangief being a Soviet is likely the reason why he's always mistakenly cast as a villain in most Western depictions of him.
And I say, Zangief, you are bad guy. But this does not mean you're bad guy.
This does present a problem, though. If Zangief is no longer a Russian patriot or champion of the people, what does he have left? Wrestling, I guess? I can't say this is an entirely bad thing. What we do have left is Zangief as a big, jolly guy who legitimately loves wrestling and treats it like it's the greatest thing ever. Zangief loves wrestling so much that he will just wrestle with anyone at any time. While his story never took any great strides, Zangief's personality really shines here. No one's gonna mistake him for a villain ever again, I don't think. By Street Fighter V, Zangief goes through yet another change. If Zangief in Street Fighter IV was solely about his love of wrestling, Zangief in Street Fighter V is solely about his love of being buff? It's literally all he talks about now, muscle this and muscle that. At least you could surmise in Street Fighter IV that Zangief just wanted to share his love of wrestling with everyone he meets. But in Street Fighter V, he somehow has even less to say. He'll just show up, start flexing, and that's it. They do manage to elaborate on his relationship with Mika, as he takes her on as his own personal apprentice on a journey to discover muscle spirit. But he doesn't really teach her anything or help her grow as a character, which is even more baffling because he appears a lot in Street Fighter V story mode, and he only has one joke. It's the exact same joke 3 times! He gets more screen time than Ryu. It's just weird to me because it feels like this game loves Zangief. So why is it that he never gets to be a real character and is instead relegated into a walking meme? I made this video to examine Zangief critically through his writing and his character treatment. But I don't want to imply that I know better than the creators about their own character. It is not my place to act like I can write better than Capcom can, and it would be arrogant and disrespectful to say that I'm fixing their character. Instead, you can think of this as my own personal reading and interpretation of the character, like a weird Zangief fanfiction that you are now all witness to. So how would I reimagine Zangief to give him more depth? To be honest, there are traits of every Zangief that I think are actually good. Zangief from 2 and Alpha is a proud patriot and a champion of the people. Zangief in 4 is energetic and jovial. And Zangief in 5 is known to showcase Herculean feats of physical might. I think there's a way to combine these traits in a cohesive way, maybe without the whole Soviet thing. There's a character in League of Legends named Braum. He is a large, muscle-bound strongman, but he is also kind, jovial, and compassionate. Across the Freljord, he is spoken of as a myth and in tales for children. The legendary Braum, who performs heroic feats of impossible strength, kind of like a Viking Paul Bunyan. It's perhaps no coincidence that he also has a thick Russian accent.
When going gets tough, you call bro.
So what if we did the same, but for Zangief? The legendary Red Cyclone, the hero of Russia, beloved by the common people and heralded like a myth. The bold and daring Zangief who will rise to defend his beloved motherland whenever evil threatens its borders. A man of such extraordinary strength that his iron body breaks steel blades and stops charging buffaloes in their tracks. To the rest of the world warriors, he's more than just another wrestler. He's a living legend and the strongest man in Russia, looked upon with awe and respect. He competes in these tournaments, but not simply for the prestige of his country, but to inspire his people to grow and become strong like him. A hope that has enraptured the likes of Rainbow Mika, who wishes to train as his apprentice. That is the Zangief I envision. Now hold on, I boldly assume you ask me. Isn't he basically the same as the Zangief we have now? To which I have to say, kinda? It was never my intention to create a brand new Zangief. Instead, I took all of Zangief's strongest traits, which were previously isolated, and put them together. This still doesn't give him a deep motivation nor a full character arc, but it does give Zangief something much more important: some solid ground with which to relate to other characters. Zangief can now relate to Ryu's quest of self-mastery because Zangief has already achieved his peak. He can relate to Guile as a fellow patriot and man of his country. He has the charisma to inspire Cammy to cope with the pain of her past. Hell, he even now has a reason to oppose Bison. Not just because Bison is a criminal and an enemy of Russia, but because Bison is a man attempting to transcend his limits by cheating with psycho power instead of with hard work and muscle. Encounters with Zangief become much more than fighting just that one muscle guy. You are now facing a living legend. The unbreakable Red Cyclone of Russia, feared by his enemies and respected by his comrades. I'm not saying that Zangief needs a deep involved story like Charlie Nash, but it's not impossible to give some much needed depth to a character normally relegated to the clown crew. Hell, Balrog got an emotional moment in Street Fighter V. I like Zangief, and I'm pretty sure Capcom likes Zangief too. I just wish the games would actually show him some respect.
Show!
That's the end of today's ABItorial. Didn't think I'd be ending the year with a Zangief video, but oh well. Let me know in the comments how you feel about Zangief, and don't forget to double lariat that bell and final atomic buster that subscribe button for more game and anime content from SugarPunch. We could definitely use your support, so check out our Patreon for early access to all of our future videos. I'm ABI, and I'll see you next year.
Blanca loves capitalism!